Oh, you're right. I think Joe's talking about this.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We're waiting for the live stream.
You are in the right spot.
Yes, you're in the right spot. We're just waiting on the technology.
I didn't have yours many papers tonight.
Okay, now we're live.
Okay, David, we're back, we're going now, okay?
Okay,
All right. We're ready for board reports. Anyone have any board reports?
I just wanted to, and this is in the acknowledgements later on in the packet too, but the, special education fair and the open house was really fantastic. I think Jean and I attended, and it was a lot of fun, and I always like, it's enjoyable to be able to peruse the different tables and see the different things that the ESD does, and it was just really fun. There was a petting zoo this year. My 9-year-old enjoyed getting to make his own slime, so it was really like fun and interactive. And also, I liked how we spread it out through the building this year, so they kind of got to see, because like we did this big remodel, but now they really got to see like all the different floors of the building. Yeah, it was really fantastic, and I think it's awesome that we've implemented that as a yearly thing. And I was happy to see how full the parking lot was. I don't know how many of those were employees, because I know there's employees too, but yeah, it seemed pretty busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was fantastic.
It was fantastic. It was very well done.
Appreciate everyone's hard work putting it together.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Michelle
it was
Nielsen from Cascade Regional. It's actually, even though it seems like, it's this yearly thing that we just did in the building, but Michelle, actually, this was the 10th year that Michelle pulled this together as the leader of it. I know that there were lots of her colleagues that helped as well, but she's just instrumental in making it. So, yeah, really fantastic. Thank you, Amy, for sharing that.
I even think I saw some public like on Facebook, I saw somebody from this community talking about how they attended, and they were hoping to make connection with some, because I think they had an autistic child, and they were talking about reaching out and kind of getting to know more people in the community that had autistic family members, and so it was cool to see that they were kind of using, the resources of the ESD, but they were also kind of using that to connect to a community that all is going through the same experiences, so I thought that was really neat.
Well, I would like to recognize some folks within LBL that have given a lot of time and concerted effort and dedication. And so we have some retirees coming up. We have people, come and go, but this to me is, so we have Jill Luther, who will be retiring after 26 years from early intervention, early childhood special education. She's retiring in June. Deborah Gisler, 37 years, technology and information services. Her husband, Edward Gisler, 40 years, technology information service. I think that's absolutely remarkable. And then we have Douglas Darren, technology information, 30 years. And then Nancy Smith, accounts payable, business office, 25. And I think those people, we recognize all of our employees, but I think that longevity is just remarkable, and we really appreciate their dedication and their service to their kids and the years. It don't happen every day.
No.
I know, that's
40 years.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
That's half my age. So now we're on to pup policy. We don't have as many trees, we do that, don't we?
We don't, yeah.
Yes.
Yep. We are almost caught up, so just around the time we get caught up, and then OSBA will send us another update.
This will get us caught up after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are caught up.
We are
after.
caught up.
That's great.
Or then you tell me we don't need any more.
Yeah, that's right.
Caught up.
Exactly, yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, so Nancy has the first couple
Yeah.
here.
So I'm going to explain the changes and then give you the caveat to all of it. So the first one for graduation, they are renaming alternative certificate to certificate of attendance for those of us that have been in education for long enough, know that that used to be the name that they called it, and then they switched it, and now they're switching it back. They're also adding half credit each of a higher ed or career and then personal finance. That takes away one of the elective credits that kids get, and they will start on that. They're starting on it during the 23-24 school year. There's that for the graduation requirement, and then the next page now is graduation exercises, and again, it talks about the different certificate of attendance courses, and then how we let kids walk when they meet all of these requirements. And some ESDs, here's my caveat, some ESDs actually have schools. They run schools. There's now the recovery school that 4 ESDs are in charge of. Kids who are both in the process of recovering from drug and alcohol and then want to graduate. The school that we have, the long-term care and treatment school, within statute, doesn't allow us to actually give diplomas. So kids can't graduate from our program at long-term care and treatment. We do have a partnership with Corvallis, and the students will get a diploma from Corvallis when they do graduate. So we still will do a little ceremony for them. We still, like, rah, rah, you've done it, and then they will receive the diploma from Corvallis. So we still have it. We're going to keep it in our policies because there might be a day that we do have a school that we can actually graduate students from. And so we just want to take it out and not, because I know some of our teachers were pretty upset that we couldn't give diplomas. And so I said, here, state congressman, and it's just one line in the statute that didn't change, honestly, and then that should be easy, right?
White House.
Exactly. Just add ESDs, that one line, and so anyway, those are the
Okay, that was a question I have.
yeah.
Thank you.
Right,
Anyone else have any questions?
I have just a comment. I'm good at finding typos. So I'm at first page, on page 33, under where, the paragraph under where it says English language learner students, local performance assessment manual is misspelled. Manual, just manual.
Manuel.
Manuel is what is in there, yes.
You know. Okay, thank you.
so I don't even remember when it was that I, faked you out, said we're gonna do all these policies, and then it didn't happen. They were all the Title IX policies. Well, there was one of those policies that we are actually gonna make some subtle changes to, and it's really around, it was originally named a non-discrimination. It's actually supposed to be non-discrimination and civil rights. And so we're just correcting our policy to indicate that. There are some subtle changes throughout it, that verifies, that it's both of these items, and then it updates some of the ORSs, to make sure that they're the current ORSs and not the old ones.
Okay.
We've had multiple changes at the state level around these. So it's really just getting, this is our core, non-discrimination policy, the first policy. So it needs to be accurate so that all the rest of the policies, whenever we do updates on those, will fall into line with this one.
Last one, Tim.
So I don't know, nobody's talking about artificial intelligence. So this policy really is just kind of defines that we are allowing our students and our staff to use artificial intelligence within guidelines. So part of that is that students can use it under the rules that the teacher sets in the classroom, and that our staff can use it as long as they follow state and federal laws around copyright and things like that to make sure that the ESD stays in compliance with all laws. And so this really just codifies all of that and really gives permission to staff, because some staff are very afraid to use it. They still think it feels like cheating. So this just, lets them know that us as leadership and you as the board understands that this is a useful tool that we can use. And give some guidelines on how to use it responsibly.
And what LBL students would this pertain to?
So it would be the farm home students, and there may be some instances down the road too where our EI students may be using it in a limited capacity through apps or different tools that they use, like augmented communication. There's some stuff happening around AI for that. So there's just the real answer is who knows? It's moving so fast that a month from now I might have a completely different answer on what we're looking at when it comes to it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay.
Yeah. We've got Angie as Cascade Regional Director and Brooke, occupational therapist, here to present the board tonight. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for presenting this amazing trip we went on. So, I don't know if you remember, but a few months back, I organized a big trip for our occupational therapy conference. And so our presentation tonight is just kind of a check back in about that conference. And so I put together a little PowerPoint with some slides in it, and then work there. I realized in advance this is like watching somebody else's vacation. I tried to go easy on you and not do too many, but,
This is me at the airport.
Right. This is the airport. We spent a lot of time at airports.
I was gonna say, you could have a couple slides about that.
This was, our flight, 5:45 a.m., which means we have to get there earlier than. It was so
The middle of the night.
It was early, and I don't know how people are smiling, but they are. Couple more airport, photos, and this is some related to the lake, so you may recognize that scenery. So cool. And then we finally got to Philadelphia, and this is the convention center, which I believe is the biggest one in the United States. And I didn't know that before we went there, but, it's blocks and blocks, and we were originally told when our hotel was, 0.6, 0.5, away from the convention center, and it turns out that was some other doorway over here. We were actually like kitty corner from the same intersection. It was an entrance, and so that's the entrance to the convention center and a big, just a entrance way into the hall within the convention center. And this was our booth. So we used a lot of the stuff that, Nathan put together with the agency and the banner and we took a lot of, I called it swag, but I was informed that was the old person name for it. I think it's merch or
Gotta give it the time.
I don't know,
I guess,
I'm using the
yeah.
wrong word, but whatever you call it, we had, plenty of that on hand, and a lot of the convention goers come and they gather all this stuff, and it's got our logo on it, so they can look us up later and hopefully, then come work for us someday. And, this was noteworthy because this is the cardboard trash can.
And these are, we use the bags because we talked about Oregon being really environmentally conscious and recycling and that kind of thing. These fold up to this, so that was nice. And these are little decks of cards with dice, which the OTs really enjoy because you can do all kinds of things with kids with dice and cards. So that's another swag.
We also had, and
Yeah, we had,
and stickers.
yeah, which I think came Tim from you guys, and he said that the tech people took 10 pins, so we took pins and they disappeared
They
quick.
were not LBL specific, but
they, you drew people in, yeah, outdoorsy and people would stand for minutes with these lines, trying to pick out exactly which pin, or exactly which sticker. So, but that created more interest in our program because there's a lot of
But that's the whole idea, by having, like, to get people by, so that we can talk to them.
Yeah, this is the night we have the team dinner, so this is all of the folks that went from our team. A group of folks. And then one night, most of us, all but one, went on a bus tour, so we were up on top of a bus and to go ride around and see the sights at nighttime. And this is the Rocky statue. And have our pictures with just Rocky and then all of us together there.
Did you run up the stairs?
Of course.
Did you have the music going on?
I sang it. And then we were out of breath. More sights around town on our bus tour. These are very cool buildings. And I don't remember what that building is, the green.
Oh, I think it's a library, but Philadelphia has the first free library. Yeah, and the first hospital, and the first medical college for Black people. Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah. And this is, I think we're this picture. That's just Chinatown in the, black and white. This is pretty cool. I like.
It's a good photo.
Yeah, it's kind of towards the end of the bus tour. Couple more sites around town. After that, we had to go for ice cream. And I thought that was an interesting logo there. If you have a mouth, we have a flavor. Yeah, it's pretty much true. This was the view from a whole different hotel room, since we were in a very tall building. Beautiful. And here are some just thoughts from the convention. That's Karen. She's one of our team members, and I think this was the opening session. And then this random gumball machine that was taller than me in the convention center. This, I think we've seen this picture before. That's two of our teammates. The AOTA sign. And this is part of the convention center. This used to be a railway station, and there were 13 train tracks that went on the end. So that gives you an idea of the massive size of this thing. This was a gigantic structure. And then
Oh, that's awesome.
this is a potty, and it's on a swing. And the things that occupational therapists work a lot is toileting things, and however you can get a kid to not be scared of the toilet. So people think of all kinds of ways to. And then some other just things. This was a vendor, kind of a quiet space. Sometimes when people get sensory overload, it's helpful to be in a quiet, kind of closed space. That's a slide from one of the presentations. More presentation, more potty stuff on the right there. And more just learning that took place. But really the purpose of the trip was it was a recruiting trip for me, but for the rest of the team, it was a learning. They go to the sessions at Margot. That's one of our teammates there being given a sales pitch. And when in Rome, you have to eat a Philly cheesesteak sandwich. So that's some of the food. What did Leslie call this thing on the right?
Cheese boat.
Oh, cheese boat. So
There's an egg on top there.
I think they put it on raw and then it cooks because it's so hot. I didn't try one of those. Some sights from around town. This painting was in the Philadelphia Art Museum. I'm so excited to see it in person. And that's the thinker. which is an outdoor sculpture. I didn't know that. And then, of course, the love sculpture that Philadelphia is pretty famous for. Some other buildings around town, this, reading terminal market is, there's all kinds of vendors and it's like a flea market.
Yeah, it's like food stalls and, yeah, little marketplace, it's really busy. I don't like high, but,
Yeah.
but more locals are there eating counters, yeah.
Very crowded.
It's fun.
It's pretty overloaded.
It was really near our house.
Yeah.
And
Actually, I think probably that picture may have been taken from the hotel, you know, right from one of those little floors. We were that close to it. And then like the entrance to the convention is one turned around. This is convention, so I'll pull it up there. All right, other sites, this is Betsy Ross's house on the left, and then placard, a monument to an important historic figure, and then the house on the right, I believe, is where the Declaration of Independence was first introduced. And it's, and it's so much history all around us. There are some folks from our team. I can't imagine who those were. This was,
oh, that was, the Mutter Museum, I don't know, MTTER, German, but it was a big building that was established where physicians could come together and discuss patients and medicine and all of that. So, that apparently is like where they used to meet, and there's like old periodicals everywhere. But the cool part was like all of the skulls that we saw, and like, yeah, body parts. We saw like a 8-foot long colon that was up to 30 inches wide. We saw all sorts of really interesting medical anomalies that, and part of the exhibit was, you know, there were these little reminders, some like visual cue, like, is this ethical? But how would you feel about someone taking your uterus? Like, you know,
putting it on
kind of
display.
thing. Yeah, but it was really fascinating.
that was actually the day that we weren't even supposed to still be there. So
Yeah.
that was kind of a bonus experience because the trip home didn't quite work out like we thought. The Liberty Bell there. And as many of you maybe aware, on April 5th, there were nationwide, just marches and, political marches, and there was a lot of activity in Philadelphia as well. And so those were just some pictures that were happening, things right outside of the tower that day. And this is the Delta guy. This is where things went sideways. We got up really early to come home and got on an airplane, and then the airplane had some mechanical difficulties, so we got back off of the airplane, and then they tried to fix it, and then it timed out, and then we ended up staying an extra day, so a lot of folks got to see that interesting medical museum. Some of the rest of us slept in. And then, this is some of the shots from just the day, trying to figure out if we're gonna get out of here or not, and when are we gonna actually get back home? And we're supposed to be seeing kids right now, but we're in Philadelphia area. So the trip back had some delays, but eventually we got on the plane about a day and a half later and made it home really early in the morning on Tuesday morning. So it was a fantastic trip. And, yeah,
Kudos to the team. They showed up for the open house
yeah,
and special ed resource fair about 8 hours later.
yeah. That's amazing. What was something that struck you that you?
Well, what was really cool about it is there were tons of sessions, and you didn't have to necessarily register for each one. You just showed up. They were big enough rooms. And there were several sessions on it, moral implications, utility. There was a session on baby wearing that I missed because the registration line was like a mile long. But baby wearing to as a modality, and
Say more about that. Like where it's like.
Yeah,
strapping
like
it in.
Garrison OT and her specialty is like teaching moms how to wear their babies, depending on like what. Or maybe they're just. At the end they want nice, but like, yeah, how you wear your baby matters. How you position their legs, you know, they're out like this. That's great. And then also just the regulation component, a regulation component. That you get with for every baby. It's nice that she does like consultations. Anyways, I'm really sad I missed that. But I'm gonna try to track her down. So I'm gonna know more about that. But yeah, that I learned a lot about handwriting. I was able to share the updated evidence with our teams. I would love it.
At our meeting this morning, we
Yeah.
talked about that.
Yeah. And how sometimes the top-down approach can help support bottom improving. So motor learning theory, you want to learn an activity, practice the activity. So to get better at handwriting, practice handwriting. Yeah. Anyways,
There was lots of talk about potty boss too. I don't know if we made it to the potty boss section, but the team was really jazzed about.
Yeah.
All the potty stuff.
yeah, buddying is a big deal for a lot of kids, even kids who aren't on IEPs, transitioning to kindergarten. I mean, it's just, I don't know, things are hard. Things are harder these days.
Yeah.
So, yeah, always a big fun, a challenging one to do right. Traumatize people.
So thank you for your support in that. Your vote made it possible for us to go and spend money that way. It was money well spent. We built a lot of expertise and knowledge in our team that then trickled down for years to come, and then hope to even get some future employees. Appreciate your support.
We appreciate you come back and sharing. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's
Slides are great.
Yeah, they hopefully wasn't too many of somebody else's vacation, but.
Interesting to hear about, thank you.
Yeah, you know, I'm gonna leave these in case any of you are following along. You can grab them in the mail. You actually just-
I popping fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great to hear from you. Now for the tomorrow.
Yeah. Right, right, yeah, here.
Amazing. It was what I said. Christine, sorry.
All right. Let's see. I am going to share a little PowerPoint here. Give me a second. Let's get the right screen.
Hey, everyone. Yeah. I don't know if Angie's still on the Zoom. She just walked out, but she's still logged in. Oh, she just left. Okay. Thought we could let her talk.
Okay, so I think it was back at the retreat. We initially had a little bit of conversation that we've been doing some work around, what we called originally the cultural DNA code, where we're coming together as an agency and really defining what it means to be part of this agency and what that looks like, sounds like in day-to-day work. And so we've been working with Galen and Emmanuel on that. And the process that we did from January, basically to mid-February, was we had a team of 8 people. And 2 of those people are actually in this room. Hyro was part of that. I was a part of that. And then we had 6 other team members that met every week, starting in January. And we took the feedback from staff. There was a survey that went out in December that collected all sorts of ideas. We had pages and pages of ideas around what we call we statements. And those are statements that kind of define, you know, we do this, we do that, that kind of stuff. That team of 8 took that. We started with 9 pages originally, went through multiple ways of kind of working through it ourselves individually. We worked with partners, to where we finally got it down to 1 page of we statements. And
we then sent it out to a larger feedback group, so about 30 to 40 people were recruited by the team of 8 to give larger feedback on what they call the 75% draft. So that happened, would have been like the first, it still would have been in February, early March. Got feedback from that group, team of 8 came together one final time, took that feedback, made some final changes and adjustments based on that feedback. And then we also at the same time had given it to Nathan to make it look really cool. And kind of in combination of what Nathan's ideas were, and then we decided DNA code, like that's what it's called in Galen's world, but we were like, well, what should we call it in our world? And if you think about what our theme is, it naturally brought us to the idea of this being our cultural compass for our agency. And so these are just some slides that Nathan helped prepare. You literally are getting hot off the presses, like the box came in today. Every staff member is going to get this brochure. So this is just kind of what we had originally envisioned it to look like. And it's pretty cool to actually see it in person now. If you open it up to the inside, you see that we kind of chunked it into 4 categories. The first category being around ethical excellence. The second one is around authentic communication, and then compassionate positivity, and then inclusive mindset. So those are the 3 big ideas. And then underneath each of those are the we statements that really define what it means to work here, what it means to be a collaborative team partner here. And so that is, oops, too far. Eventually there will be some posters up around the agency and around all of our buildings. You know, when people walk in, they can see like, this is what you're gonna see some, wait, I'll call it merch now. I almost called it swag, but merch, swag, whatever. That will, the compass will show up on, these four ideas will show up on. And so we rolled this out to the entire staff on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. And did a reading of it on an agency Zoom chat. And now where we're at with this is that in every staff meeting once a month, like across the entire agency, staff are going through a 15-minute protocol where the first 3 to 4 minutes of the protocol is that every staff member rereads it for themselves. They'll read it every time they do this protocol, and they reflect. And they're thinking about what is something that they're doing really well with from the compass, and what is an area that they feel like is an area of growth or opportunity for them. So they're given 3 to 4 minutes to silently reflect. The next part of the protocol is that then they just kind of randomly share out, you know what, this past month, I think I'm really doing well with, like, we foster a culture of curiosity, collaboration, continuous learning, and innovation. And so they share that. They can share an example if they want of how that's worked for them, or they can just share, you know what, I'm doing really awesome with that. And then they're gonna look and they're gonna think about, all right, you know what, I could work on showing compassion and kindness to everyone, ensuring that our words and actions uplift those around us. That's something that I'm gonna lean into, I'm working on. And they might give an example of how they've been struggling with that. Everybody in the group gets a chance to do that. And then the protocol closes out with what we call kudos. It's not forced kudos, it's not like everybody in the room has to get one, but again, it's still tied back to this, so that you can call out somebody for, hey, you know what, this person is really demonstrating this, and this is how I saw them demonstrating it. So it's just a real informal way to acknowledge people that are walking this out, and somebody in their group noticed it. And that protocol happens every month in every staff meeting. And that's really kind of what Galen calls phase 2. This will continue for the rest of this year. It will continue into next year. There will come a point probably next year where we'll loop back to it and say, is there anything in this that maybe needs to adjust or change. And then we would look at it, probably for one final kind of update and edit. And then we are gonna work into what they call phase 3, which is embedding this into hiring, recruiting, evaluation, all of the different ways that we say, this is who we are, and this is what we expect. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything
And so
else.
this is, yeah, I'd just say thank you, to Christina and the team for this. You know, when we looked at going into doing this work, it was driven by the idea that we want to be the best educational place to work. We want people to be here and have a really great experience as staff members, because when people have that type of experience, they perform better for children and for districts, and that's exactly what we're looking for. And it really is an outgrowth of the mission, vision, values work that the board did a little more than a year ago in a retreat. I took that information, worked with the team, we started working with Galen, and then this really operationalizes that type of vision and mission statements for staff members. And even though it started from the board and was more top down for the impetus for it, this language came out of much more of a grassroots. It was staff driven. Christina was the only administrator on the team. That was by design, to help facilitate and be the liaison with our leadership team, but the rest of the team were all staff. And so it was really, really good stuff. I don't know if there's questions about it at this point. But we have a lot of buy-in from our staff on this, right? It's really exciting.
It's rewarding to see something start here as kind of as a dream or an idea, and we're kind of kicking it around to the final.
Yeah.
And thank you, Christine, and everybody that worked on it. But yeah, it's nice to see come together.
And it's so fun. I think the other part that we can really see is the depth that we have on our team of our staff to come up with the language that's in it, and then to have this phenomenal marketing person in Nathan to be able to just look at the language and have a conversation with the team a little bit and Christina about and come up with the way it looks. It's really
Something that was really very cool about it is that one of the staff meetings, they were doing protocol, and to hear someone say, I just really appreciate this, because they were on the second group where they gave the feedback and said, I really feel like we were listening to this time. This feedback that I gave was showing up. So I think that also is just, that's what we say, for the people, by the people. It really was. They created it.
I think it's important to be recognized, and like I said, that come together collaboratively, yes.
Yeah, if you're invested and part of making, yeah.
it's great. Thank you, Christina, for sharing.
A lot of kids,
I love how the design on the outside looks like a topographical map. It's so cool. With the compass, just really, visually eye-catching.
Thank you very much. Okay. We're on.
You're up.
Oh, we're, yes, sir. Financial.
So, in addition to treating our employees well, we also like to give them paychecks. Yeah. And that only happens when we manage our money well, and when we do that on there, we spend a lot of money. So let's take a look at what happened last month here, and go straight to page 51. We'll start with revenues for the month. So no large surprises here. We took in about $1.2 million from the general fund. That's going to be the state revenue sharing. That's the state school fund that's kicking that off. We actually got a sizable tax income for the month. I was a little bit surprised at this point in time in the year to see something that large. We'll see whether that means we're getting a smaller June payment or not. Special revenue funds, we did some filing on grants and received some money back on there, which is what you're seeing, that $1.1 million, and then a smattering of other in the internal service fund. taking a look at expenses. So expenses came in at about 4.45 million for the month. And the figure I'm gonna call out to you, if you take a look in the special revenue column, under services and fees, you'll see that $1.3 million there. And that is that recurring MAC payment. So that is us saying we're about to file for MAC for our districts on there, and we have to forward money on to the agency on there so that they can send the money back to us. So that's us sending $1.3 million out to them. Normally I would tell you that that comes back in 4 to 6 weeks, but the actual answer is it already came back and we've already made the payments out to the districts by it. So that is one time, it'll correct itself. Other than that $1.3 million, everything else came in right where we expect on a normal month. And let's keep going. Let's take a look at page 53. And we'll take a quick look. Our cash balance sitting at about $19.6 million, which is terrific. But I'm going to pause for a moment here and call out a number I don't normally pay that much attention to in the meeting here, and that is interest. So you'll see off the LGIP, we earned $76,000 of interest during the month. So that is, we have money sitting in the LGIP and they pay us interest. Interest rate for the month was about 4.7%. And the reason I want to call that out is that there is a ton of uncertainty as to what is going to happen with interest rates moving forward. So if anybody paid attention to the latest issue by the Fed, and if you didn't, shame on you because it's really interesting. But they're usually fairly forward about saying what they predict is going to happen. They give signals as to whether they're going to move or not. They gave one of the cagiest answers they ever gave before. And the problem they're running into is that there's the concern that with increased tariffs, that is going to drive that's going to drive costs up, which will drive inflation. Well, the Fed's response to driving inflation is to increase interest rates. They're also concerned that it's going to cause recession. And the Fed's answer to recession is to decrease interest rates. So the Fed has basically said, we're not going to guide right now, but we may have to make changes and they may happen quickly. So we're going to keep our eye on this one. Should they start dropping rates quickly on here, we want to make sure that we note this is something we sort of count on in our general fund. And we're going to pay attention to where it's moving going forward. That's what everybody wanted to hear.
A shining light on you.
I am a beacon of hope. Okay, other than that, our bond payable note will go out. We schedule it for 1 week before it's due. The payment's already scheduled in the system. So we'll be sending out about $390,000 to make the next payment on our full faith credit obligation. And that, cash trending. I can't forget cash trending. As we look at the cash trending report on here, we are really, really stable right now. You'll see that sort of trailing 12-month average on there is holding in just south of 20 million. We're seeing a little bit of bobbing up and down over time. Our cash balance should be relatively stable moving forward. A call out that June tends to be an expensive month, so expect to see that balance drop in June. And I did have one final thing. I brought it up before. I'll bring it up today as well. I hope next board meeting to be able to give you a preemptive glance on an updated appropriation. So we did have more MAC going through this year than what we budgeted for. So we will have to get an appropriation that says it's okay to use and pay that MAC. We also may have a small amount. If we remember the GASB thing that caused the weird accounting entry that made money move from one section to the other. Well, we didn't budget that way this year. So we're going to make sure that we get an estimate in so that nothing is over appropriation. So Sean and I will be reviewing it this month. I'm hoping to bring something to you in the next board meeting that will be indicative of what we will ask for approval for in the June meeting, knowing that there still could be some change between what we forecast in May and what we have in June itself. The whole idea is just to make sure that we're fully inside of appropriations by the time we have the year. none of it, absolutely none of it is, we need extra money to spend that we didn't anticipate. None of it is that.
It has nothing to do with our budget meetings coming up.
It has nothing to do with everything's coming up either. Yep.
Any questions? Somebody's gonna have questions for him.
Nobody feels like challenging me today? Amy's usually up to it, but. With you got a document bargaining sheet part of your.
I think that's part of it, is Amy's been spending a lot more time with you.
Yeah.
For bargaining prep.
Thank you, Brock.
Yep.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay. So now we are moving on to, here we are, budget committee.
Yeah, so we had a resignation in zone 3, from the budget committee, and, fortunately, Sammy is such a generous person that, he's looking to step back in some areas so that he can focus on others, and this was one of the things that it's like, I need to share the wealth, have somebody else get this opportunity, and so he actually helped recruit Todd Noble. And so Todd has agreed to serve that zone in the budget committee. And so we just need a motion to approve Todd Noble as the budget committee nominated person.
But that's for, 460, if we approve it, no, that's for the
Just for this year,
budget, yeah.
exactly, just that because of Sammy stepping down, it's just for this year and we have
Well,
to
and
redo.
Sammy's, term was up
Yeah.
in June anyway, so he's only stepping in for this last.
Yeah,
It's one cycle.
From April to June.
Yeah,
And we're just
correct.
making sure- okay.
Yep.
So,
I move to approve, the budget committee nominee timetable for April through June 30th.
financial,
second that.
okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve Todd Noble for budget committee, appointment. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Okay, so for superintendent's report, just a few different things here. Today, some just exciting things to share with you. To start with, and I wish, well, I'll pass along a message if you'd like to regarding social media campaign that Nathan's kicking off, as well as he's been really instrumental with partnering with Tim on creating a cybersecurity event. And so I'd love to put Tim on the spot for just a moment to just tell a little bit about this really great cybersecurity event that we're putting on next week. So if you could do that, would be great.
Yeah, sure. So we are doing an event next week where we are partnering with CISA, who's a federal agency that looks at cybersecurity and infrastructure security, and the FBI, and with our insurance provider for district's PACE, in order to put on a cybersecurity event to help raise awareness about the types of problems that are facing K-12 when it comes to cybersecurity, some of the requirements that insurance carriers are asking us to do. We're gonna get clarification on that from the insurance provider, and then we're gonna do what's called a tabletop, where we are gonna run through with districts a mock cybersecurity event. So they can run through their incident response plans and talk it through with professionals to see where they may have gaps in their security and where there's a lot of things they probably just never thought of before. Especially a lot of districts don't have dedicated cybersecurity people, so there's a lot of things they don't know that they don't know. And hopefully this will help them with that. We put it out there for people to sign up, and we had people sign up right away, and to where the feds came in and said, can you cap it at 120? So we are at 116 as of today, and we put a cap at 120. We have over 50 districts throughout the state represented, a couple districts from Washington as well, and different entities from the state of Oregon that are going to come to this event and participate. So it's going to be just a really great event for school districts. Nothing like this has been put on before for school districts, so we're really excited to have this happen. And be able to hopefully help people out and, get people talking, so that, when it comes to cybersecurity, nobody wants to talk with each other, because some people are afraid of, either people thinking they're not doing a good enough job, or they don't care, or that they might expose some kind of vulnerability in their system. So this is just a secure place for us all to make contacts and talk with each other as well. It's pretty
And
exciting.
this is a really exciting thing, I think, for us, that not only do we get to, help provide a service in a different way, and this is really a benevolent sort of service in that, we're doing this, not because anybody is paying us to do this, but I think it is just, it's good outreach. And so that's where we end up, gaining, there's a little less benevolence in that way, and then by, getting to do our outreach to the community and kind of showcase, our expertise in this area. And then, Nathan is going to be doing a social media campaign, and some of it will be, around cybersecurity and some of our marketing around cybersecurity. Some of it will be around special education. It's through the idea that, David, you talked about this in terms of how do we make ourselves more known, which is a tough balance point in some ways, because for the most part, our services are only accessed through a school district. So it's not as though we can go out and drum up business directly with parents and families. They actually have to go through their school district or through a special ed case manager or EIECSE or something like that. But, one of the things that the board, I know, has talked about in the past, and we've talked about, is that a lot of times people don't even know what an ESD is and what they do. And, about the only time that people, might pay attention is when they look at their tax statement and they curse some entity that's taking the money out of their property taxes. And like, who is this? Who are these LBL people? So, anyway, we're gonna try to get in front of that a little bit and try to make ourselves a little bit more known in a positive way. So, that's really exciting. Yeah.
It's just that I think for some people, there is a confusion between Linville Community College and Linville ESD.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you say LBL, well, if you went to Linville, you would be thinking,
And that happens on a regular basis, so much so that sometimes it even confuses our state education agencies. A couple of years ago, LBCC called us to say, well, actually, they didn't call us at first, because their vice president ended up signing the thing, whoever was there at the time. But they signed for one of our $4 million grants. My God. Hey, that already got signed, and I'm like, I didn't sign it, and Tanya didn't sign it, so what happened there? But yeah, there's a little confusion about that. And I think it's good for us to get out there, and things like our event that we had, it's already been shared, but really positive in terms of our special ed fair. We already are working on planning next year's. Going to try to get out in front of, I think the date was already picked for next year as well, so that we can be thinking about that and get a little bit more buy-in from our school districts and stuff.
when does it start coming stocking and stuff?
Yeah. This day we can get on the calendar. I can't remember if it's one, it's right around the same time. Yeah, same week of April.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Another thing that's related, that is just kind of a fun thing, and I know that the board, has wanted to do this, and it's on our radar screen, but it's kind of related to the fact that we've been so busy putting energy into the cyber event that we still have a plan to do the apparel, like getting merch, merch out there for staff to wear, so that'll help us be known as well. And the board wanted to do that for staff as a thank you. Nathan has some good ideas put together, but we're gonna get through this cyber event and a lot of game plan for what that looks like. And then the last, I'll do the next one that isn't terribly exciting, but I think it's necessary. So not quite as positive and everything, unless you want to think about that. But I do need 3 volunteers
that, and it could be our chair and two other people, or however you want to do it as a board. But I would love to have a conversation with 3 board members about my contract.
Oh,
So that we can have a conversation about that to be able to bring it back to the full board. So,
get back to you.
yeah, that sounds good. So if you let me know, which 3 people would like to sit down and talk with me about that, that would be great. So that we can do that. There's nothing major that we're looking at there, other than we just need to have that conversation every year. Okay, so, and then the last thing you'll see on, couple page call outs here. I won't go through any of these here, but on pages 55 and 56, we have some of our task activity, updates there. And then we also have, a draft, for you to look at of the board meeting and work group schedule, for 2025, 2026. I think what's important here is to note that this is typically the time that the board will look at a calendar for next year. However, a calendar doesn't get adopted, so any new board members that might be with us, it doesn't get adopted until we go into the new year. And given the fact that we would potentially have 3 new board members, I think that conversation needs to happen again in the future about when the meetings. But this is just a draft to start with. So that is all I have for tonight. Unless there's any questions.
Anybody, board?
Thank you for
Thank you
coming.
for coming.
Nope, take care.
And this tentative schedule is the same.
Same
third Wednesday,
structure.
Except for March,
Yeah.
because March is the one where we have to do it for the 15th.
Yeah, same structure as we have this year. I mean, that's just if we were just to make the assumption that we're doing the same thing, that's what it is.
Anything else?
Hmm?
Okay, so then Thursday, Friday. Thursday, Friday, May 8th and 9th. Going to the OAESD Spring Conference in Sun River. Y'all have a good time. Remember the mimosas. Wednesday, May 21st, between 5 to 6, is the regular board meeting. And then that same night, from 6 to 8, is the budget hearing. That'll be our first budget meeting. And we can either adopt it that night, or we can have another meeting, because we're so much fun to be with. Any other?
Yeah, I will, I'll take as many nights as you actually want to talk budget.
Okay.
Rocco can outlast us all.
Yeah.
Is the annual performance meeting, 4:30 to 5:30, and then June 18th at 6 o'clock is the regular board. Is there any other business to come before the board tonight? If not, we're adjourned, and have a pleasant evening and happy Easter to everybody.
Thank you.